Okay, we are live, right? All
We
right.
are live. Good evening, everybody. How is everyone doing?
Yeah, how's
in the
everyone doing
Hampton
out
Roads
there?
area, very, very cold winter evening tonight.
That's right. The cold weather is finally upon us. It looks like it's going to stick around now. I'm John Gardner. This is my wife and law partner, Rala Mendoza, and we are Gardner and Mendoza. We come to you every Wednesday night from 6 to 7 to discuss immigration law, give you updates, and hopefully answer your questions. That's the main thing we like to do, is get questions from you all so that we can answer them.
Yes.
If you have a question, please put it in the comments, and we will field them as they come through.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for coming and watching us every Wednesday. We really appreciate the support, and we like to try to get information out to you all that is relevant to the community, give you updates on what's going on with immigration as well as court. And of course, there's a lot going on with COVID-19 and immigration and the courts. And so we are here every week. If you have a question, please put it in the comments and we'll try to answer the question. And if you have people who think that you think that they might benefit from this, please share and let them know that we are here to answer their immigration and court questions. So thank you very much.
That's right. They can always view it later. We're live now, but it's on our Facebook page, and we'll be there for a long time. So they can they can
We'll
come back
see,
to it
right?
anytime. Yeah, absolutely. So the things we're going to hit tonight, we're going to do some of the things we always do. We're going to hit the state court updates and let you know what's going on there. Radlin is going to give you some USCIS updates. We're going to field your questions, of course. And I also am going to give a little more detail than I have in the past about the driver privilege card. I've talked about it, but we're going to do a little deeper dive tonight because it goes into effect January 1st, and that really is truly right around the corner. I've been saying that for months that it's around the corner. It really is around the corner now.
It absolutely is. I can't believe it's already November
I know.
18th.
Yep, November 18th.
Pretty wild and crazy, but hope you guys are doing okay, staying healthy, and keeping the flame. We definitely need to keep the flame on a cold winter night like this.
And hello to my aunt Jill, who's joining us from South Florida. I never disclose the exact location, but it's from South Florida.
Just in case you guys go and find her
That's
and hold
right.
her hostage, and then we have to pay ransom money to release her.
That's right. That's right. Oh, and before we get too much more along the way here, I wanted to just a slight disclaimer, small disclaimer that our attorneys always make us say, and that is that what you hear here is not legal advice. It is for informational and educational purposes only. Okay.
Yes, and what's next? What's next is the brag session. That's what I'm going to do today. This one's not very long. Thank you, Mr. Rodriguez, for posting this 5-star review for us on Google. And Mr. Rodriguez says, I highly recommend the professional services that Gardner and Mendoza provides. I am so glad for them to have taken care of my business. We're glad to have taken care of business too, Mr. Rodriguez. We really appreciate, again, all of the support and especially the reviews. That really helps us, and it's a key performance indicator for us and for our team. Like, okay, we're doing a good job. We really pay attention to what our clients tell us, and especially the review. So, Harston, how's it going? Oh, that's sweet. He says my fave in Virginia Beach.
Yeah, some reviews are long and some are short, but simply knowing that somebody is happy with the service, happy with the result, and would refer us to their friends, that says it all. And that's what we want to do with every client. So we're happy to hear that. It makes us know that what we're doing right, and our staff and our team and what they're doing is they're doing it right as well.
Absolutely. And what was I going to say? I have a lot of things to say, but I don't know what I was going to say at that moment. I think I was going to say, please write your questions. I am going to monitor the questions, so I'll be looking down at my computer. But if you have any questions, put them in the comments. We're going to try not to miss them. Sometimes we miss them, and then you guys have to repost. But I'm going to be paying close attention to the questions.
And remember, we try to mention this at the end, but if your question doesn't get answered, stick around because we continue to monitor the questions after we're done with the live time. We still are looking at the questions and can get back to you even after we're off. We're not off air. I don't know. I always say things like, we're live on air, and
We
Rattler
are,
says
we
this
are.
is not really quite the same as it's not the Tonight Show or anything going on here.
We pretend it's like the Tonight Show. Every time
I
we
need a
start,
golf club, right?
every time we start, we say, honey,
Here's Johnny.
nobody knows what you're talking about.
My Aunt Jill does.
Okay, Aunt Jill does. Maybe she does. I don't think she's old enough.
Okay.
But we say quiet on the set
Quiet
because
on
we
the
have
set.
3 kids, 2 teenagers, and 1 9-year-old, and they know what we do every Wednesday night. But okay, honey, I'm going to let you go ahead and do some state court updates.
So, brief state court update. For now, at least everything is still going as usual. We're hearing numbers are spiking. We'll see if anything changes. But at least for now, everything is still as usual. The main thing I always remind people is that you have to have a mask. So some of the courts are taking temperatures, some aren't. They're all asking you questions about symptoms or whether you've traveled. But you do need a mask to get in. And once you're in the courthouse, you do need to recognize the social distancing rules. Almost all of the courthouses now have tape on the seats marking where you can sit, and so it's pretty easy to follow. Okay, and while I'm at it, the other thing, I see this all the time, just random not public service announcement, legal service announcement. You can't take a phone into the courthouse either. Okay,
That's very important.
a lot of people don't know that. I see a lot of people walking back to the parking garage or the parking lot because they had a phone with them, or maybe panicking because their spouse hasn't gotten back to them for 3 or 4 hours when he went to court, not knowing that he doesn't have his phone with him. Won't name names. Anyway.
That recently happened.
That recently happened. All right, so.
That's a good PSA. That's a good public service announcement. Like, quick follow-up question with that. Is there a locker if you forget to, you don't feel like walking all the way to your car? Norfolk Courthouse, parking lot is far.
Yep, there is a locker, and if you're like me, you always have some loose spare change in your pocket, and so you can use that for the locker. Okay.
Okay.
No
John
one.
is joking.
That's why I'm saying.
No one
don't
has spare
take the phone,
change.
right?
No one even has cash. So don't
Right.
take the phone. Just
Leave the phone. Send the last text. Tell whoever it is that you're, texting. I'm going into the courthouse now. I won't have my phone for a while.
Ooh,
Okay.
what about a watch?
You can take a watch.
What about the smartwatch?
Fine.
Is it?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll give a more firm answer on that next week.
You know
I feel
what?
like I was
think so.
asked to take my smartwatch off in Norfolk one year, but that was a couple of years ago. And these smartwatches are even smarter than the phones now.
Yeah.
Okay. That's
I don't know. I don't see anyone getting harassed about watches, but maybe I just haven't noticed it. And I shouldn't call it harassed. Nobody's been asked to take the watch off. Okay.
yeah.
Poor choice of words there.
What do we call that? We call that violent language.
Okay.
Aggressive language. Oh, my mother-in-law is on. She comes to
Yes.
see me,
Oh, no, I think it's probably both of us.
Probably
Hi,
both of
Mama.
us, but probably more me than you.
And I know that it's definitely wintry in Ohio by now. This is about the time it starts to hit hard.
Harshan says he has a question.
Okay, let's hear it.
So, Harshan, whenever you're ready for that question, type it in and we will try to answer it. He says that he always refers people to us. Thank you.
That's great.
Appreciate that.
Really appreciate that.
All right.
Okay, well, do you want to, while that question's getting through, I'm going to start with one of the main things that I wanted to talk about tonight, and this is the driver privilege card, the DPC, okay? I've been talking about this for months, but I want to give a little more detail because we're getting pretty close here. On January 1st, 2021, if you are a resident of Virginia, regardless of your immigration status, you will be able to get a DPC, a driving privilege card, okay? And I'm going to call it a DPC because it's just faster and easier that way, okay? Basically, this is a new law that regardless of your immigration status, if you live here, you work here, you've paid taxes here, and you can pass the test and you have insurance, then you can get a driving privilege card, a DPC, okay? I've been getting a lot of questions about this, and so I wanted to get into some more detail about it. First of all, the DPC is going to look just like a regular driver's license. I think there was a lot of concern with some folks that, Okay, I'm going to have this funky thing that's going to look different. I'm going to hand it to some local police officer if I get pulled for speeding, and they're going to immediately know that, oh, you don't have a driver's license. You have the DPC. What's your immigration problem? Oh, here's your address. Let me just call ICE right now and let them know that they need to head over to 1324 Elm Street to, check on these people. That really is the main concern, and I get that, and I'm going to talk about that in a little more detail as we go on here, okay? But the license is going to look the same. What it's going to have is it's going to note a restriction on the back, just like any other driver's license. So like my driver's license has a restriction that I have to have corrective lenses to drive at night, okay? And that's on my license, okay? It's small, but it's on there. People that have a restricted license from a DUI, same thing. If you look at the license, it looks the same, but on the back, there's a small restriction noted there that they can only drive certain places and what the restrictions might be, okay? The DPC is going to require that you produce certain documents, and I'm going to get into what all those are in a minute. The DMV is not going to keep those documents, okay? All the original documents are going to be given back to you, and they're telling us that they're not going to even keep the documents in a database. What they are going to keep in the database is your name, of course, and your address, okay? And that's where the privacy concerns come in. Again, folks maybe don't want to do that, but they're promising that there's going to be a robust privacy protection for the documents, and that all that they are going to have is your name, when it was issued, when it expires, your identifying information, just like any driver's license, height, eye color, that kind of thing, and your address. But it's not like they're going to have any mention of what country you're from or what you produced to get the DPC or anything like that. Okay? So, here is what you're going to need. You're going to have to be a Virginia resident. Okay, and you're going to have to show proof of residency. You're going to have paid taxes for 1 year or to have been claimed as a dependent on someone else's tax returns. You're going to need a picture ID, and you're going to need a TIN number, tax identification number, to prove that you paid taxes or the tax returns. It's going to be a $50 fee to get the license. You're going to have to be able to pass the knowledge test. You're going to have to be able to pass the road test, and you're going to have to show proof of insurance, okay? So those are all the things that you're going to have to start thinking about, okay? And I'm going to talk about what documents are involved here in a second. Warning, with COVID going on still in full rage right now, the DMVs, as you know, are by appointment only. You're going to have to make an appointment to go to the DMV to do all of this, okay? And I can tell you right now, DMV appointments are running at least 2 to 3 months out, okay? So if this is something that you think you want to do, or you're going to try to do, or you maybe are going to do, I would highly recommend that you make the appointment at DMV now. You can always cancel it if you change your mind, but I would hop on. That's one of the things we're always preaching with immigration and with everything else, is get in the line fast, because this stuff all takes time, all right? So if you think you may do this, make your appointment right now. At the website, by the way, is www. She always makes fun of me for saying
www, the World Wide Web.
Just in case you don't know
let me write. I'm going to write it in the comments.
It's www.dmv.virginia.gov.
Is that Virginia spelled out?
Yep.
Okay.
And this is going to take you to the DMV website, and there's all kinds of things you can do there that we're not talking about right now. Okay, www.dmv.
It's up there.
Okay, I just want to make sure it was right. All right. When you get to the page that takes you to, under the heading Online Services, you're going to see a link for Make an Appointment. Click on Make an Appointment, and that's going to take you through, and you're going to see a list. There are all kinds of DMVs to choose from, and you can pick any of them you want. It doesn't matter what DMV you go to, and you may want to search around. If you're if you live in Chesapeake and you go to the Greenbrier DMV that's right down the street from you, and you see, oh gosh, it's going to take 6 months for me to get an appointment there, you might look around. You might find that, hey, if I'm willing to drive all the way up to Alexandria, I can do it in 3 days from now. Okay, so look around.
DMV shopping.
Yeah, DMV shopping. It's absolutely fine to do that. It doesn't matter what DMV you go to. Okay, so you're going to have to make an appointment. I suggest you do it immediately. Like I said, you can always, if you change your mind, can't get the documents, or just decide you don't want to do it, whatever, you can always cancel the appointment. You can go back to the website and cancel it. You can be a no-show. I would not do that, only because it's inconsiderate. You know how hard it is to get these appointments, and if you're not going to go, as a courtesy, you should cancel the appointment so that somebody who's looking for one can get it.
Absolutely, for sure.
All right, so again, you're going to need a tax identification number when you go to this appointment. Okay, you get your appointment, you know, it's in February, and you want to make sure that you do it once and you do it right and you don't have to do it again. Okay, you'll need a tax identification number. I'm told that right now that's taking between 8 and 11 weeks. So if you don't have one, you're trying to get one, and maybe you can shed some more light on that.
Yes. So, right, the individual tax ID number, and that you can get that through irs.gov, and it does require documentation in order for you to get that. So we have assisted people in getting the ITIN for them. It's been a while since we've done that, but it's certainly something that we are going to be helping people with as part of this process. There's, you know, with regard to getting assistance with this process, you can do it on your own, just like you can do immigration on your own. But if you want someone by your side to help you walk you through it, the reason why we're offering this service is because a lot of the documents that are required are very similar to the documents that are required for our immigration cases, for many of our immigration cases. And so we are really great at putting packages together that get approved, where you have to prove that you've lived somewhere for, you know, 2 years, 10 years. We know how to do that. We know how to get tax returns. We know how to get the ITIN. And there's another part of it as well, and John's going to get into it, and it's whether you should even apply to get your driver's license. You know, what if you have an immigration history, if you have immigration past with regard to multiple entries, or you have voluntary returns, or you've been before an immigration judge, you're going to really have to sit down like, okay, is it worth it for me to do this? And I know that you're going to get into
that's
that.
okay.
But
that's
no,
fine.
so we can assist you with the individual tax ID.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, like Radlin said, there's a lot to do here, but it's totally worth it if you're the right candidate for this TPC. But you can do it on your own. But if you want assistance, we can certainly help you with it. And I think that it's a wise move because we know how to do it. We know what we're doing, and we can shepherd you through the whole thing, get the documents, help you get the documents, just to make sure that everything goes smoothly. Okay.
Right. And we are friends to self-filers. We want to help. That's why we give this information out. If you want to do it on your own, then you can. You absolutely can. This information is for you as well. We want people to just apply for it. I read somewhere that 250,000 Virginians are eligible to get the driver privilege card. If you see yourself in these set of facts, then or you know someone, then you definitely want to go out and try to apply for it if it's right for you.
So getting back to, so you go to that appointment, you're going to need tax identification number, you're going to need tax returns, okay? You may not have 2020 yet, but 2019, you are going to need your tax returns. You're going to need a government picture ID, okay? And I would tell you that the DMV, I was just on a conference day before yesterday about this, and the DMV has still not released a list of acceptable documents, but we fully expect that they will be things like a passport or a matricular ID card, okay? You're going to need proof that you're a resident of Virginia. So you're going to need 2 forms with an address on it, okay? Think like a utility bill or a credit card statement, something that you get that has your name and your address in Virginia to prove that you are living in Virginia, that this is your state of residence. All right. The fee will be $50 to the DMV to get the DPC. You will have to be able to pass the knowledge test. There's two parts here. The first is the knowledge test, the written test, if you will. And just so you know, that test will be available in English and in Spanish. Okay.
And they're working on other languages now,
too. They are working on other languages. Yep, that's correct. If you are claimed as a dependent on somebody else's tax returns, then obviously you're going to need a copy of that person's tax returns when you go to your appointment. If you have all that stuff and then you're able to pass the test, the knowledge test, the written test, okay, you will then get a permit, just like any other new driver would in Virginia. Okay, you'll get a permit, and then you'll have that for a temporary period, probably about 2 months. And after that period, you will then be able to apply for, make an appointment to take the road test. Okay, so you'll take all those documents, you'll pass the test, you'll get this temporary permit, and then you make an appointment for the road test, and then you go back and you show that you can actually pass the driving test. And if you do that, then you're going to get your DPC. Okay.
And we don't really have an idea of the time frame as far as when that road test will be given.
The guess now is about 2 months, as I said, 1 to 2 months.
So, yeah, it's going to take a bit.
Yeah, exactly.
This is not an overnight process.
Definitely not an overnight process. You also have to, as I said earlier, you'll have to have proof of insurance. Okay, so you have to show that the vehicle, that you have insurance. Okay. You'll have to renew the DPC. If you do get a DPC, it has to be renewed every 2 years. There's a lot of talk right now from the chatter that I'm hearing is that could be one of the very first things that gets amended or changed in this law when it comes up again for a revision. But for now, you would have to be renewed every 2 years, which is a lot shorter period than a regular driver's license in Virginia. But I mean, 2 years is still a good amount of time, right?
Absolutely.
And
it's better than nothing.
Yeah, exactly. It's better than nothing. That's right. One of the questions that's been coming up is whether you can transfer your license. You know, a lot of folks maybe have a license from another state. They couldn't get a license in Virginia. They moved to Maryland, and now they have a Maryland driver's license. You will not be able to transfer a Maryland driver's license to a Virginia DPC, but you will likely be able to use the Maryland license as the government issued form of a photo ID. As I said, you're going to need something like a passport, matricular ID card. The Maryland driver's license will probably qualify as a picture ID. Be careful, you still have the residence requirements. So if you've got a Maryland driver's license, remember you're going to have to also have the utility bills and so forth to prove that you live in Virginia and not in Maryland. Okay?
Right.
Some advice: if you go to do all of this and you get denied, you take all your documents, you go to DMV, for whatever reason, they say you can't get one, please get it in writing, okay? Ask the DMV to give you something in writing that will show what the reason was for the denial. That'll help you have a very clear understanding of what it is, so there's no miscommunication, a very clear understanding of what you need to correct or fix in order to get it. And if you try to do it yourself and it doesn't work, and then you come to us and say, I don't know, I tried to do this, they said I'm not eligible, then we have something much better to go on. Okay, well, here's what was wrong with this, and here's how we can help you fix this. All right? Which brings us to the last topic, and this is what Rathlin was talking about. Who should apply for this? Maybe not everyone. Okay, maybe not everyone. We talked about this, and we kind of see 3 categories here, because there are privacy issues here, and there are maybe risks associated with this depending on who you are. So the first category is what Rathlin alluded to a little bit ago, and that is that I think you mentioned people that are already involved with immigration in some capacity. Okay. Meaning you're already on immigration's radar. Maybe you're on an immigration bond. maybe you're checking in with
You have
them,
deportation,
every month or something.
removal. You're in immigration court.
You're in immigration removal proceedings, and you have a court date that's already been set. That kind of a situation. Okay.
5 years down the road.
Right. Yeah. If you're that person, well, there's no risk of you being found out by immigration because they already know who you are. They already know where you are. They know you're here, and they know what your situation is. Okay. So to those people, I would say, just go get one because there's no risk involved for you. Okay. The second category is the category that's harder. Okay. This would be folks who maybe you think you might be on immigration's radar, but you're not sure. Okay.
Right. Something has happened. Say 10 years ago, you seem to remember that you were sent some papers and given some paper, or at work, maybe there was a worksite raid and you went through this process and you feel like, oh, I was supposed to go to court, but I never got any paperwork to go to court. You probably had to go to court and you probably missed court. That's when we do a little bit of research for some of our clients with these types of facts, that's usually what has happened. Someone has missed immigration court. So then, you really have a final order of removal. And if you have those iffy situations where you have had contact with immigration in some way, shape, or form, you don't exactly know what happened, or maybe you do know what happened. You do know that you missed court, or you do know that you were ordered removed, then you should not apply for the Virginia Driver Privilege Card.
Yeah, that's a much harder case. Maybe you had a DUI and you got arrested, and when you were in the jail, there was immigration put a temporary hold on you, and a few days passed and nobody from immigration ever came to get you, and so the jail let you out. But you know that immigration was notified and may be looking for you. Those are the situations where you might want to think twice about whether you want to do this, because remember, they're not going to keep your documents, but they are going to have your name and your identifying information, your date of birth, and your address. And there are robust privacy protections in place, we're told, but we are dealing with governments here, and all the promises in the world don't make my fears go away with the possibility of information being shared across databases. Remember, you've got ICE, you've got DMVs, you've got the FBI, all these groups, and they all share databases when they're looking for things. And so I wouldn't be shocked if ICE was running this database information to see if they get a hit for maybe somebody they're looking for who has slipped away and hasn't been seen for a while, but now all of a sudden ICE knows exactly where they're living and is able to easily go scoop them up. Okay, so if you're in that category, maybe you think twice. Maybe you don't do this. You're just not worth the risk. Okay. Third category. The third category are the folks who are here who are sure that they're not on any immigration radar. They know that for a fact. They've been here a while, or maybe not a while, who knows, but they've never had any interaction with law enforcement. They've never had any interaction with immigration. They know that they're not on anyone's radar, okay? But they're scared anyway because they're thinking, I'm not on the radar, and life is pretty good right now with a few inconveniences, but for the most part, things are fine, and the last thing I want to do is stir up some mud here unnecessarily. And for those groups, I think the answer is if you don't ever drive, you don't really drive for anything, then maybe it's not worth it. Maybe you just decide, okay, well, I don't really need a driver's license anyway because I don't drive anywhere, okay? But if you drive every day to work, for example, you're driving every day to work, during work, driving home from work, I think for you, it's a good idea to do it, because for those folks, I think the risk is low compared to the risk of getting pulled over and not having anything, okay? If you're that person, if you're a daily driver, all it takes is one headlight out or a tail light out to get pulled over, and then you are headed to court. Then you are in law enforcement's radar, okay? So you may think that it's risky to do this, but to you, I would say the risk of not doing it is greater. And so I would go ahead and get these documents together and get the driver privilege card. Okay.
Awesome. Well, that was very comprehensive. And
A lot of information there.
if you all have any other questions about that, then you can email John directly at jcg@gmlaw.net.
Yeah,
Sorry.
JCG.
Info is the informational.
Yeah,
email.
jcg@gmlaw.net. If you think that you will benefit from this program or know somebody, shoot me an email and be happy to make an appointment to talk about it and get you in the right direction, or even to help you with it if you decide you want us to help. Okay?
Awesome. Thank you.
And don't forget, if you're thinking about doing this, go to that DMV website right now and make an appointment, because I'm telling you, they're months out right now, months in advance.
Right, especially for those who already have
Yeah.
their taxes filed and they've
Exactly.
got all of their information and all the there's no harm in making that
Yeah, many of you are
appointment.
ready to go. Many of you have filed taxes for years, and you've got everything you need. And if you're that person, I would make that appointment with DMV right now.
Right, absolutely.
Okay?
Okay, we have a question here.
Yeah.
Harshan, he says, after the interview, why doesn't the immigration officer say the green card is approved, but they keep it under review for 120 days? And then follow-up question, is it normal that immigration officer at interview time do not ask for any documents? Okay, so to answer your first question, why does the officer not just say right on the spot, your green card is approved, I'm going to click the button and have your green card sent to you? There are several reasons why that does not happen. I'm going to say that most of the officers do not do that. Most of the officers at the Norfolk Immigration Office, and I don't know whether it's because they don't have the authority to do it at that point in time, whether some of the officers have to have their decisions reviewed by a supervisor, but most of them are not going to tell you that your lawful permanent resident status has been approved at that point in time. They do have that option to do that. I mean, I'm sure your wife was given a piece of paper with multiple boxes checked, but I'm going to say that it's not weird that they did not say, yes, your green card is approved at that time. I think that there could be a factor that perhaps the officer did not have a chance to review the file before. Maybe she was rushed. It's a very stressful atmosphere right now at the Norfolk Immigration Office, and I'll get into that a little bit later. But they're understaffed. I mean, they're down two officers, which is a huge impact according to the director. A huge impact on workflow and getting the work done. Even though it's only two people, they had such a system that losing the two people really caused a cramp in their system. So there could be a couple of reasons. I wouldn't really overly worry about it, and I know we've talked about this before. It is hard not to worry about the outcome of an interview, because here we are, maybe it's been 3-4 weeks and you're trying to figure out, well, what the heck's going on, and then we have the situation here in Harshan's case, like, you didn't ask for any documents. Well, why not? That's a little bit unusual. Again, it all depends on the type of case. How did it look when you filed it? Maybe it was perfect when you filed it, and nothing else was needed to prove that your wife could get this benefit. So yes, try to be patient. I know I say that to you and to everyone out there. It's a strange time right now, and we have to give a little bit of grace to our local immigration. I mean, I know that's not a popular thing to say. It's not a popular thing to say among some of my clients. It's certainly not with the immigration bar. I mean, people are jumping up and down, screaming, turning red and blue in the face. I don't really see the point in that. We do have to, have a little bit of patience. If there's a serious problem, if there's a serious delay, then there is a mechanism in order to reach out to the local office and say, hey, this has been pending. What's going on? I was told X. this is not happening. But it's tough. It's even tough to communicate with our local office right now, and they are aware of that. They're aware of the lines of communications have really been just depleted because for the sake of efficiency. So I would hang in there, Harshan, and yeah, it doesn't sound like you got a request for evidence or anything was requested, so it's not unusual at all with regard to the piece of paper that you got that says, hey, I'm not able to approve your case at this time.
And we do understand, by the way, that there's nothing more stressful than uncertainty. And so
absolutely. Absolutely.
It's the worst of all, but just be patient, hang in there.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that question. And again, Harsha, thank you for joining us. And all of you guys who have joined us, thank you. And we're open for questions. If we don't have any questions, let's kind of highlight a couple of things. We had a virtual coffee with the field office director, and there were probably about 45 people on the call. There was no video. It was through, I think it was maybe WebEx and there were pre-submitted questions, and there were several supervisors on the call along with the field office director, Frank Reffel, and he is very gracious to do this. He doesn't have to do this. He doesn't have to answer the community's questions about what's going on at the local immigration office, but he and his team were there for an hour and a half answering questions. They've processed 10,000 cases, and the time frame, I wasn't clear about the time frame, but I'm assuming it was in the fiscal year. Their goal was 11,000. They processed 10,000. So for that office, it's a very efficient office. I think it is anyway. There was a lot of frustration though. There were a lot of frustrating questions from the immigration bar about, what is going on with some of these cases that are languishing. We used to be able to call, we used to be able to email, we used to be able to speak to someone. Now we all have to go through the 1-800 number. We can't get an InfoPass appointment. So this is one of the questions from immigration attorney. He was extremely frustrated. And unfortunately, the answer was the same, and that's we have to use the lines of communications, and that is primarily the 1-800 number, unless the case is outside of processing times. And for those of you who are going through your immigration case and you're religiously checking processing times, that range of processing times can be very long. It can be, 7 to 18.24 months, And so if you're at the 10th month and the outer end of the processing time is 18, you can't make an inquiry, theoretically, unless you're outside of that time. So it's been very, very frustrating. And that was something that Frank tried to address, but he essentially said, look, he liked the good old days too, where we could all just solve the cases together. But he reminded us that, do you guys remember the days when a green card would take 2 to 3 years? And I do. I remember the days when green cards would take 2 to 3 years. And, by the time we got the interview, my clients had been married for 2 years already, and we went ahead and just got the tenure card. That was one benefit, but nobody wants to wait 2 to 3 years to get their lawful permanent residency in a process. But I do remember those. And essentially what he was saying was, there's a trade-off. We have a system. The system is way more efficient, but some of the things that we like and that we're used to, which is more of a human contact and trying to get problems resolved using human beings versus the 1-800 number system, that's going to happen, unfortunately. So that was one of the questions. The other thing that they brought up, and this is really, really important, especially for the self-filers out there who go to their interviews and they don't have their attorney with them, or maybe their attorney is appearing telephonically. If there is a problem, guys, and Frank, he's like, I know you guys who have heard me say this over and over again. I know that you're rolling your eyes at me right now as I say it. If there's a problem, you have to call a supervisor. If you if you're going in there and the officer is supposed to call your attorney, because lawyers can appear telephonically now, COVID-19 protocol, and the officer for whatever reason won't do it, then you have to advocate for yourself. And this is hard. I know that. It's hard to kind of stand up and say, hey, I want to talk to a supervisor. In fact, before your interview, the night before, go look in the mirror and say, hey, I would like to speak to a supervisor. Hey, I would like to speak to a supervisor. Just get practice, because it is hard. It's hard to have the guts to stand up to someone of authority who is going to be deciding your case. And a lot of my clients, when we have to file a lawsuit, or when we have to, write a letter that we're threatening that we're going to have to file a lawsuit, they're like, oh, but I don't want to do that because, they might get mad at me and then they might deny my case. Well, that's not the way that it's supposed to happen. So, Frank Ruffel, the director, he has just said this throughout his whole tenure with the USCIS in Norfolk. He's like, please have a supervisor called if there is a problem. If the officer refuses to call your lawyer that you paid to be there for and that you need, you have to stand up for yourself, stand up and say, I would like to speak to a supervisor. In our previous Facebook Live, somebody had mentioned that their officer was not wearing a mask, and other attorneys mentioned that as well. If that's a problem for you and you're uncomfortable, there is plexiglass, but still, they're supposed to be wearing masks. If you're not comfortable with it, you have to stand up and call the supervisor attention to ask for the supervisor. I know it's difficult, but that is one thing that he really, really harped on. Scanning here. There were a lot of questions. One of the questions was, how long should an immigration officer take to respond to a request for evidence? So say the officer asked for bona fide marriage documents, okay? And then you send those bona fide marriage documents back into the immigration officer. How long should it take for that officer to turn around and approve your case, hopefully approve the case? And the director said it should take 30 days. He thought that was a reasonable time. If it takes longer, what do? We wait, unfortunately. And again, it's tough. It's really, really tough to get a human being to talk to people at the immigration office. I am a liaison there with the American Immigration Lawyers Association, and we can put inquiries in on behalf of our members, on behalf of our lawyer members. So that is one way that we can get through to the immigration office in Norfolk, but it's tough. Bottom line, it's hard. The current staffing right now at the Norfolk office, let's see, he started off the meeting with, he lost 2 officers, and he was not able to hire because there's a hiring freeze right now. And that's been in place since pre-COVID. And he said basically, they have a dire fiscal forecast at USCIS. It's not good. So he cannot fill those positions and is not sure when he's going to be able to fill those positions. So from what he said, let's see, we've got, and these are my notes that I took, I believe 19 immigration officers that are adjudicating. So there's still a good amount, but those two people down has impacted their ability to be at full proficiency and efficiency. Not proficiency, sorry, efficiency. I don't want to say proficiency. All right, and then the last thing that I want to mention, which I think is really important, is that we do have a new N400 test coming right around the corner. So if you have your N400, your application for naturalization, if you've got that filled out and it's ready to mail, you're just sitting on it for a couple more days, I would do that, because the test you're going to have 28 additional questions after December 1st. So if you file your N400, I believe, yes, on or after December the 1st of 2020, then you will be subject to the new test. It's not a huge big deal. It's just that instead of 100 questions, you're going to have to study 128 questions. Instead of the immigration officer asking you orally 10 questions, they're going to ask you 20 questions. Instead of that immigration officer stopping when you get the first 6 right, they're going to have to continue on throughout the full 20 questions. The pass rate is, you have to get 12 out of the 20 in order to pass the test. So the English and the writing test are the same. It's just that the civics test, there are more questions. Who wants more questions? If you got your N400 application, if it's ready, then file it now. Don't wait.
Absolutely. Good advice. Good advice.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's all I want to talk about with regard to our meeting. And I know that we're coming up on the hour here. And I just any other questions that we've had?
I don't see any other questions. I did want to say hi to my Aunt Sue who jumped on here. Hi, Sue.
Hi, Sue. And to everyone who has come on and listened to our Facebook Live tonight about the
Well, before we sign off, the one thing I did want to mention as well, in case you've been following the news, there have been some updates in the law involving marijuana in Virginia. Specifically, 2 things that will go into effect on March 1st, 2021. One is that starting then, police officers will not be able to use the odor of marijuana alone as a basis for a stop, a search, or a seizure. Okay? And the other one is that currently, if you have simple possession of marijuana, as you know, they changed the law last year and it became just a $25 civil penalty, but you still have to show up for that. Starting March 1st, the new law will allow you to prepay, just like a ticket. So if you have a possession of marijuana charge, you can just prepay the $25 civil penalty. You don't even have to show up in court for the case, okay? But, why am I bringing this up? What does this have to do?
This is a big
with,
but.
What does this have to do with immigration law?
Everything.
It has a lot to do with immigration law.
Everything to do with immigration law.
Remember, if you're a non-U.S. citizen, you don't want to have a marijuana conviction. There may be ways out of it that get very technical, but just avoid it altogether, okay? I don't want our clients or any non-U.S. citizens out there thinking, oh, well, marijuana is not a big deal in Virginia anymore. I can just prepay the $25 penalty, or I can be outside smoking marijuana and the cops can't even, talk to me about it because they can't use that. It doesn't matter that Virginia is making these changes. Immigration has not made these changes, okay?
Right, immigration is federal law. So it is a hard concept to grasp in law school. It was a very difficult concept to grasp. I know it now.
So
Thankfully,
immigration
I'm a
law
lawyer.
is federal law.
Yes.
And marijuana is still a crime under federal law.
Yes.
And if you have a marijuana possession conviction in Virginia and you prepaid the $25 fine thinking this was absolutely nothing, not a big deal, you may have a rude awakening coming your way in your immigration case. Okay?
Absolutely. And it could potentially be a huge problem for traveling as well.
Yeah.
If you travel outside of the United States and you're a lawful permanent resident, even if you're a lawful permanent resident, with a marijuana conviction on paper without knowing anything else about it, Customs and Border Protection can not admit you as a lawful permanent resident. It's an offense where you can be inadmissible to the United States. So it's huge. And if you're a U.S. citizen, do what you want, okay? Do what you want.
Here's what I would say.
With marijuana, I should say.
If you want to play fast and loose with marijuana in Virginia because of the new laws, then that's fine. But file the N400 application first. Get that approved. Swear in. Become a U.S. citizen. And then if you want to go down that road with marijuana, that's up to you. But if you're not a U.S. citizen, please be careful. Because it is still for you a big deal. Even if it's not a big deal in Virginia.
It is a big deal still. It is a big deal. I don't ever want to see a marijuana case that messes up with...
My fear is that people are going to be reading the news and they're just going to be thinking, oh, well, it's it's almost legal here now.
Right.
And even if it was decriminalized, but even if it's legalized, which is slightly different, if they legalize marijuana in Virginia, it will still be a problem with immigration.
Right.
Unless the immigration law, federal law changes. Okay,
So
enough
just
on that.
be careful with that. And then a really small point that John brought up, and I just want to highlight, is you go to your N400 interview, you pass all of your tests. They say, congratulations, we're going to schedule you for an oath swearing. You have to swear in first before you are officially a U.S. citizen. Like, officially a U.S. citizen, you must take that oath and swear oath of allegiance to the United States before. So if anything happens in between the time that you went to your interview and passed all your tests and then the time that you're going to swear in, that could be a problem. So save the hard partying until after the swearing in.
Till after the certificate of naturalization
is in your hands.
Okay.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
All right,
All right,
guys.
guys.
Well, we are going to sign off.
Yep.
It was fantastic.
A lot of fun.
Facebook Live, absolutely.
If you have any more questions, go ahead and pop them in there and we'll continue to monitor them. All right?
Yes, and we will be back. Well, let's see. Next Wednesday is... we're not going to be cooking on Wednesday night? No, we're not going to be cooking on Wednesday night.
We will be after Facebook Live.
We're going to stay up all night after
That's
Facebook
right.
Live cooking
We'll go
the
straight
turkey.
from Facebook Live to the brining of the turkey and the mashing of the stuffing.
Of the potatoes.
That's right.
The mashing of the potatoes.
That's right.
All right, guys. Well, thank you so much. Thank you for coming, and we will see you next time.
Yeah,
2
maybe
thumbs
we'll
up.
even try to make the Sue stuff. We'll see.
The
all right.
Sue stuff.
2 thumbs up, everybody.
Take care, guys. Thank you.
We will see you next week. All right.
All right.
Take care.
Bye-bye.